coffee mug explodes against hardwood, ceramic shards scattering like Nicole's composure. Nicole Martinez freezes in her cramped studio apartment, remote control trembling in her grip. On the television screen, a 10-year-old girl with caramel skin and Nicole's exact nose shape stands behind a microphone, but it's the eyes that stop Nicole's heart cold. Deep brown with golden flecks, just like Darius had possessed. The child's voice, pure and haunting, fills the small room as she sings Amazing Grace with the kind of raw emotion that comes from loss too early understood. The banner beneath reads, "Heather Washington, local girl advances to National Youth Singing Competition." Nicole's legs give out. She collapses onto her second-hand couch, unable to breathe, unable to think, unable to do anything but stare at the face she's seen only once before. 10 years ago, in a hospital room she's spent a decade trying to forget. The girl speaks between songs, her voice steady despite obvious grief. "I'm singing today for my mama, Eleanor Washington, who passed away 3 weeks ago. She always said music was how we talk to heaven." Nicole reaches for the remote, but her hands shake too violently to change the channel. This child, her child, stands confident and loved and whole. Everything Nicole had hoped for when she signed those papers. Everything Nicole had told herself was impossible. If you were this mother, what would you do, seeing your child on live TV? The girl's performance ends to thunderous applause, but Nicole hears nothing except the sound of her own world shattering for the second time in 10 years. 10 years earlier, 19-year-old Nicole Rodriguez believed college would save her from the chaos of her mother's addiction and their South Side tenement. A partial scholarship to study graphic design at Columbia College, Chicago, represented escape, until she met Darius Johnson in the library during finals week. He was everything her life wasn't. Steady, ambitious, planning for law school with the quiet confidence of someone who'd never doubted his future. Their relationship bloomed over late-night study sessions and shared dreams of different lives. When Nicole discovered she was pregnant after 3 months together, she imagined they'd figure it out like adults. The conversation happens in a diner booth, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry insects. Darius slides an envelope across the scratched Formica table. $400 cash and a Planned Parenthood pamphlet. "You need to handle this," he says, unable to meet her eyes. "I can't let this destroy everything I've worked for. My family has expectations, and with everything happening in the world right now," he gestures vaguely, unable to voice what they both know, that a mixed-race baby complicates everything in ways neither feels equipped to handle. Nicole stares at the money, feeling something fundamental crack inside her chest. "What about what I've worked for? Be realistic, Nicole. We're kids playing grown-up. This isn't some romantic movie where love conquers all." When Nicole refuses the abortion, Darius disappears completely. No returned calls, no texts, no explanations. She learns from mutual friends that he's transferred to Northwestern, received a full scholarship, started fresh without the complication of her existence. Her mother Carmen's reaction cuts deeper than abandonment. It's pure rage fueled by cocaine paranoia and bitter experience. "You stupid little girl. You think some black boy's gonna come rescue you? You think his family wants white trash mucking up their bloodline?" The dominoes fall quickly after that. Nicole loses her campus bookstore job when morning sickness makes her unreliable. Her grades plummet as exhaustion and depression take hold. The scholarship vanishes with her GPA. Nicole snorted. Carmen kicks her out, claiming she can't afford another mouth to feed, though Nicole knows it's really about maintaining the fiction that Carmen is still young and carefree. For 6 months, Nicole lives in her dented Honda Civic, working odd jobs that pay cash, hiding her growing belly under oversized hoodies scavenged from thrift stores. She tells herself daily that she'll keep the baby, that love will somehow be enough to overcome poverty and isolation and the crushing weight of doing everything alone. But Chicago winters are merciless, and certainty crumbles under the pressure of empty bank accounts and nowhere safe to sleep. The labor starts in Mercy Hospital's parking lot during a December blizzard. Nicole had come for a routine checkup, but couldn't afford the bills anymore. She's been avoiding medical care for weeks. Between contractions that tear through her like lightning, she makes the hardest decision of her 19 years. "I can't," she whispers to the social worker as nurses clean the baby in the adjacent room. "I can't give her what she needs." The baby, her daughter, emerges perfect and trusting with Nicole's nose, but Darius's beautiful dark eyes and impossibly tiny fingers that grasp at air as if reaching for something that should be there. Mrs. Patterson, the social worker, radiates professional kindness, but moves with practiced efficiency. "We have wonderful families waiting, Nicole. She'll be loved completely, I promise you that." The paperwork blurs through Nicole's tears, but she signs everything with numb determination. Mrs. Patterson hands her the birth certificate as a formality. "In case you ever want to reach out, her name is Heather Nicole Johnson. We try to honor the birth mother's wishes when possible." Outside in the parking lot, snowflakes swirl around Nicole as she stares at the official document. Her daughter's name, her lineage, her future, all reduced to black ink on white paper that feels impossibly heavy in her frozen hands. With fingers too numb to feel anything, Nicole tears the certificate into pieces and watches them scatter in the wind like prayers she'll never be able to take back. The last fragment, the one bearing Heather's full name, clings briefly to Nicole's coat before the blizzard carries it away. Eleanor Washington has always believed children find their way to the families meant to love them. At 45, she and her husband Marcus have surrendered hope of biological children when 3-day-old Heather arrives through the adoption agency, a perfect miracle with curious eyes and surprisingly strong lungs. Eleanor, a retired high school music teacher, recognizes something extraordinary in Heather's voice before the child can even speak properly. Her babbling follows perfect pitch. Her cries create melodic patterns that sound almost intentional. By age 3, Heather harmonizes with radio songs without conscious effort. "That girl's got music running through her veins," Marcus observes, watching his wife and daughter share the piano bench, their heads bent together over sheet music in the evening light streaming through their South Side home's windows. The Washington household hums with warmth that Nicole never experienced. Sunday dinners with extended family filling every chair. Homework completed at the kitchen table under Eleanor's patient guidance. Voice lessons that sound more like laughter than work. Heather grows up knowing she's adopted, but never doubting she's absolutely wanted. Yet questions linger like shadows in a sunny room. "Mama Eleanor, why didn't my birth mother want me?" 8-year-old Heather asks one evening, her small fingers picking out a melody she's been composing on the piano. Eleanor's heart clenches with familiar pain. They've navigated this conversation before, always carefully, always truthfully. Sometimes grown-ups make incredibly hard choices because they believe it's best for their babies. That doesn't mean they didn't love you completely. Do you think she thinks about me sometimes? I believe any mother would be proud of the remarkable young lady you're becoming. But Heather's questions penetrate deeper than words can reach. She begins having recurring dreams. A blonde woman humming lullabies in a voice that sounds nothing like Mama Eleanor's rich alto. In these dreams, the woman's face remains frustratingly blurry, but her hands feel gentle as they braid Heather's hair with infinite patience. When Heather describes these nocturnal visions, Eleanor feels an inexplicable chill. She's never sung those particular lullabies. And Heather's descriptions contain details too specific for mere imagination. At age 9, Heather channels her questions into music with startling sophistication. Late one night, Eleanor discovers her at the piano, composing a haunting melody with words that fracture her heart. Nameless, that's what I am. Nobody's daughter, nobody's plan. But I'm still here, I'm still breathing, still believing in my dream, searching for the voice that called me here, through the silence, through the fear. "Oh, sweet baby," Eleanor whispers, wrapping protective arms around Heather's small shoulders. "You are not nameless. You are Heather Washington, and you belong completely to us." But Heather continues perfecting the song with obsessive determination, adjusting every note and inflection until it captures something she can't articulate. She performs it at the church talent show, bringing the entire congregation to tears with raw emotion that shouldn't exist in someone so young. Mrs. Robinson, the church organist and former talent scout, pulls Eleanor aside afterward with urgent intensity. That child possesses a gift beyond anything I've witnessed in 30 years of music. There's a national youth singing competition. Auditions happen next month in Chicago. She absolutely must be there. Eleanor hesitates, maternal instincts warring with ambition. Success in music means exposure, publicity, questions about Heather's background that might lead to painful discoveries or unwanted contact. But watching Heather's face illuminate when she sings, seeing how music provides a voice for feelings she cannot otherwise express, Eleanor realizes she cannot hold her daughter back from her destiny. The audition exceeds every expectation. Heather performs Nameless with such devastating emotion that the judges sit in stunned silence before erupting in applause. She advances to the televised semifinals with unanimous approval. 3 weeks later, as Eleanor battles the cancer diagnosis she's hidden from everyone, she makes one final decision. She secretly contacts the local news station, wanting the world to witness her daughter's extraordinary talent before. Eleanor never mentions the interview request to Heather. She never reveals the cancer's rapid progression. She simply holds her daughter closer each day and prays for enough time. On the morning of the televised semifinal, Eleanor Washington passes away quietly in her sleep, her hand resting on sheet music for a lullaby she'd found among Heather's adoption papers, a song she'd been teaching herself to sing. During the television taping, Heather chooses to honor her adoptive mother by performing that mysterious lullaby, the one Eleanor had hummed during her final days. As Heather's pure voice fills the auditorium with the haunting melody, somewhere across the city, Nicole Martinez sits frozen, recognizing the tune she'd hummed to her unborn child during those desperately lonely months of pregnancy. The lullaby she never taught anyone else becomes the bridge between a mother who gave everything and a daughter who never knew she was already connected to her past. Heather's performance ignites the internet within hours. The hashtag Heather Washington trends nationwide as her story, orphaned by adoption, recently lost her beloved adoptive mother, singing for her dreams with heartbreaking grace, captures hearts across America. The video accumulates 2 million views in 24 hours, with comments pouring in from viewers moved to tears. But the internet never forgets, and it never forgives. Online sleuths, energized by Heather's compelling narrative, begin excavating. Adoption records remain sealed, but hospital files aren't foolproof systems. A careless Facebook post from years ago by a former social worker mentions the Rodriguez girl who gave up her mixed baby during that terrible winter. Cross-referenced with dates, hospital locations, and public records, the digital trail leads directly back to Nicole. The first message appears on Nicole's rarely used Instagram account. "Are you Heather Washington's real mother, the one who abandoned her like garbage?" Then her LinkedIn profile. "How does it feel watching your daughter succeed without you? Must hurt knowing strangers raised her better." Her freelance clients begin receiving anonymous emails with malicious precision. "Did you know Nicole Martinez abandoned her own child? How can you trust someone who throws away her own baby with your business?" Within 48 hours, Nicole's carefully constructed life disintegrates completely. 3 major clients cancel contracts citing ethical concerns. Her landlord receives calls questioning her character and threatening property values. Someone posts her home address online with the caption, "Child abandoner lives here. Make her pay." The cruelest part isn't the stranger's judgment, it's their devastating accuracy. Nicole has spent 10 years building a carefully controlled existence of strategic isolation, convincing herself she'd made the right choice for everyone involved. Now, the world forces her to confront what she's desperately tried to forget. Standing in her apartment, scrolling through an endless stream of hateful messages flooding her phone, Nicole finally allows herself to truly remember Heather's face on television. Not just the resemblance to Darius, but something else. A luminous confidence in her eyes that Nicole has never possessed, even as a carefree child. "She's better off without me," Nicole whispers to her empty apartment, repeating the same words she's used like a mantra for a decade. Look how beautiful and talented and loved she became. Look at what I could never have given her. But doubt creeps in through the cracks in her certainty. What if Heather has wondered about her origins? What if she's carried questions that only Nicole can answer? The email arrives on a Wednesday morning, sent from a prestigious law firm's official letterhead. Ms. Martinez, I represent the estate of Eleanor Washington and the current legal guardians of Miss Heather Washington. My client has expressed interest in establishing contact with you regarding Miss Washington's biological origins. Please respond at your earliest convenience if you wish to participate in mediated contact. Nicole stares at the screen until the words blur. After 10 years of absolute silence, her daughter wants to meet her. The second email arrives exactly 1 hour later, from a different address entirely. Nicole, it's Darius. I know this situation is incredibly complicated, but Heather deserves to know where she comes from. I've been helping her search for answers. We need to talk immediately. The phone number at the bottom makes Nicole's hand shake violently. After all these years of absence, after abandoning them both when courage mattered most, Darius suddenly wants to play happy family? The third email arrives before she can process the first two. Mrs. Martinez? This is Marcus Washington, Heather's adoptive father. My daughter is asking difficult questions, and she deserves honest answers. Eleanor always believed in facing truth with grace. I hope you'll consider the same. Nicole drafts 3 different responses, one agreeing to meet immediately, one refusing all contact permanently, and one demanding to know what Darius really wants after all these years of convenient absence. She deletes them all, and instead searches Heather Washington singing competition on YouTube, watching her daughter perform that haunting lullaby over and over. Would you come forward if the truth could destroy your life? Nicole recognizes something in Heather's eyes during the performance. Not just talent or confidence, but a quiet strength that suggests she could handle whatever truth emerges. The recognition terrifies Nicole more than any anonymous threat ever could. Nicole agrees to the DNA test, though everyone involved already knows the results. The legal formality takes 3 agonizing weeks. 3 weeks of sleepless nights, canceled freelance projects, and obsessive viewing of Heather's competition footage, frame by frame. When the results arrive, Nicole holds the envelope for an hour before opening it with trembling fingers. 99.97% probability of biological relationship. The clinical language makes everything undeniably real in a way she wasn't prepared to face. The lawyers arrange a meeting at a neutral location, a family counseling center downtown with beige walls and carefully positioned tissue boxes. Nicole expects Heather and perhaps a social worker. She doesn't expect Darius. He's 30 now, wearing a tailored suit and the quiet confidence that comes with earned success. The frightened boy who fled has transformed into a public defender with kind eyes and graying temples that make him look distinguished rather than old. When Nicole enters the waiting room, he stands immediately with practiced politeness. "Nicole, you look—" He trails off, probably noting her thrift store clothes and the anxiety radiating from her like heat. Like someone who's been living with the consequences of both our choices? Nicole's voice carries more edge than intended. Before Darius can respond, Heather enters with Marcus Washington, her adoptive father. At 10, she's taller than Nicole expected, with Eleanor's regal posture and an alertness that suggests she understands far more than adults typically credit children with grasping. She studies Nicole with unsettling directness. "You have my nose and my stubborn attitude," Marcus adds gently, his protective hand resting on Heather's shoulder. She doesn't miss much detail. Dr. Sandra Chen, the mediator, guides them through careful introductions designed to minimize trauma. Heather asks questions with the same methodical precision she applies to music. Why didn't you keep me? Did you ever think about me? Do you have other children? Are you proud of me? Nicole answers with painful honesty, refusing to sugarcoat reality. She was 19, completely alone and terrified. Yes, she thought about Heather every single day. No, she never had other children, never even tried. And yes, watching her perform made Nicole prouder than she had any right to feel. I need you to understand something crucial, Nicole says, her voice steady despite internal chaos. I didn't give you up because I didn't love you. I gave you up because I loved you so completely that I knew I couldn't provide what you deserved. Heather considers this with mature deliberation. But you could have tried. I could have. But trying and failing would have hurt you more than ensuring you found parents who could succeed. The conversation might have continued in careful therapeutic circles, but Heather cuts through diplomatic politeness. I got a record deal. The words hang in the air like suspended lightning. Darius beams with obvious pride. Marcus nods approvingly. Nicole feels the crushing weight of having missed everything important. RCA Records wants to sign me after the competition finals. There's going to be albums, national tours, television interviews. Everyone's going to ask about my family, my story, my background. Heather's voice remains steady, but her hands fidget with nervous energy. I need to know who I am before I tell the world. Darius leans forward with obvious investment. Nicole, I understand this is overwhelming, but Heather deserves to have her complete history. Both of us are part of that story. Both of us? Nicole's anger flares white-hot. You left before she was even born. You didn't make the hard choice. I did, completely alone. You're absolutely right, Darius says quietly, surprising her with immediate acknowledgement. I was a coward who chose my future over responsibility, but I can't change that now. I can only try to do better going forward. Heather watches this exchange with the composure of someone far older than 10. I don't need you to be my parents, she says, with startling clarity. I had Mama Eleanor and Daddy Marcus for that. But I need to know my story isn't just about being unwanted. Darius reveals something that stops everyone cold. I've been quietly supporting Heather's music education for 3 years through anonymous donations to Eleanor Washington. I wanted to contribute without interfering. Nicole stares at him. Eleanor knew? She knew but never told Heather. She respected the boundaries while allowing me to help. The record deal isn't just about talent. It's about Heather's story of overcoming abandonment and loss. The label wants to market her as America's inspirational sweetheart, which means her adoption narrative becomes public property, dissected and packaged for mass consumption. Nicole realizes that agreeing to any relationship with Heather means stepping into the spotlight that already destroyed her life once. But refusing means Heather faces the world's questions about her biological parents without answers. Or worse, with carefully crafted lies designed to protect everyone except the child who deserves truth. 2 weeks later, Nicole stands outside the Chicago theater, watching crowds gather for Heather's national competition performance. The media circus exceeds anything she imagined. News vans lined up like military vehicles, photographers with telephoto lenses, fans holding Team Heather signs, decorated with glitter and hope. She almost retreats 3 separate times. The backstage pass Darius arranged gets her through security, but nothing prepares her for seeing Heather in full performance mode. Gone is the thoughtful child from the counseling session. In her place stands a young professional, warming up her voice with Marcus while stylists adjust her hair with practiced efficiency. You came, Heather says when she spots Nicole, displaying no surprise in her tone. I said I would. Adults say lots of things they don't mean. The conversation halts when Darius approaches, carrying congratulatory flowers and wearing the proud expression of someone claiming credit for another person's achievement. Can we talk privately? He asks Nicole. There are things we need to discuss. They step into an empty dressing room, and 10 years of unspoken words pour out like water through a broken dam. I need you to understand, Darius begins. Leaving wasn't about not caring. It was about being 20 years old and terrified and knowing I would ruin 3 lives if I stayed. So instead you ruined one? Mine? You made your choice too, Nicole. Don't pretend I forced you to give her up. I made my choice alone, while you got to attend Northwestern and build your perfect life and pretend we never existed. You think my life was perfect? Darius's composed facade cracks completely. You think I didn't spend every day wondering if I'd made the right choice? I've dated exactly 2 women seriously in 10 years, and both relationships ended because I couldn't stop thinking about the daughter I'd abandoned. Nicole stares at him, momentarily speechless. Then why didn't you come back? Because by the time I was ready to be a father, she already had one. Marcus Washington is a genuinely good man. Eleanor was an incredible mother. What right did I have to disrupt that stability? But you have the right now. Now she's asking questions that deserve answers. Their argument escalates in volume and intensity until Heather appears in the doorway, no longer the composed young professional, but a 10-year-old girl overwhelmed by adult complications she didn't create. "Are you fighting about me?" she asks, her voice small and uncertain. Nicole and Darius fall silent instantly. "I can hear you through the walls," Heather continues with devastating honesty. "Everyone can hear you." The makeup lady asked if you're my parents, having a divorce fight. The word parents hits Nicole like a physical blow. She's never thought of herself that way. As Heather's parent. She's the woman who gave birth to her, the woman who surrendered her, but not her parent in any meaningful sense. Heather steps closer, studying Nicole's face with unnerving intensity. "Are you sad?" "I'm many things." "Are you proud of me?" Nicole looks at this poised, talented, beautiful child. A child who somehow emerged from the worst decision Nicole ever made and became something extraordinary beyond imagination. "I'm proud of you every single day," Nicole whispers, "even when I don't have the right to feel that way." Heather nods as if this makes perfect sense. Mama Eleanor used to say that love doesn't need permission to exist. Then Heather asks the question Nicole has been dreading. "Are you my real mother?" Nicole's response cuts to the heart of everything. The woman who raised you is your real mother. The woman who taught you to sing, who stayed awake with you when you were sick, who believed in your dreams. That's your real mother. I'm just the woman who made sure you could find her. Heather stares at Nicole with those golden flecked eyes filling with tears that threaten to spill over. "Then why are you crying?" The question forces Nicole to confront a truth she's avoided for 10 years. Despite her noble words, part of her desperately wishes she could have been the mother who stayed. But Heather, about to perform for millions of viewers, takes control of the conversation with startling maturity that would impress seasoned negotiators. "I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings," she begins with careful deliberation, "but I need to say some important things." The adults, Nicole, Darius, Marcus, even the hovering lawyers, fall completely silent. "Daddy Marcus, you're my real father. Nothing changes that, ever. But," she looks directly at Darius, "I need to know about the other half of my family, my grandparents, cousins, medical information, things Mama Eleanor couldn't tell me because she didn't know." Darius nods, tears streaming down his face. "And Nicole." Heather pauses, testing the name carefully. "I don't know what to call you yet. You're not my mom, but you're not nothing either." Nicole's throat constricts painfully. "You can call me whatever feels right to you." "I might not call you anything for a while. Is that okay?" "That's perfectly okay." Heather continues with negotiations that would impress seasoned attorneys. She wants limited contact. Perhaps letters initially, then phone calls if those interactions proceed well. No public acknowledgement until she feels ready. No interference with her career decisions. No guilt trips about past choices. "I can forgive what happened," she says, looking between Nicole and Darius with surprising wisdom. "But I need time to understand it completely. And I need space to be a kid, not a symbol of your redemption." The word redemption stops everyone cold. It's far too sophisticated for a 10-year-old, until Marcus explains that Heather's been in grief counseling since Eleanor's death, learning to articulate complex emotions with professional guidance. "I have one more thing to say," Heather adds with growing confidence. "The record label wants to tell my story as marketing. They want to make it about how I overcame being abandoned, but that's not my story." She stands straighter, and Nicole sees Eleanor Washington's strength flowing through her posture. "My story is about being chosen. Mama Eleanor chose me. Daddy Marcus chose me. My voice teacher chose me for the competition. RCA chose me for the contract. The audience chooses me when they vote. Her gaze moves deliberately between Nicole and Darius. What happened before I was born doesn't define what happens next. Nicole feels something fundamental shift inside her chest. Pride, relief, and the strangest sense of completion. This child doesn't need her validation or presence to feel whole. She's already complete. There's one condition, Nicole says quietly. If you ever need anything at all, you call me. Even if we haven't talked in years, even if you're angry with me, if you need help or money or just someone to listen, you call me. Can you promise that? Heather considers this seriously. Will you promise to answer? I promise. Darius starts to speak, but Heather cuts him off with polite firmness. Same goes for you. But I want to meet your family first, my other grandparents, my aunts and uncles. I want to know where I come from completely. The lawyers produce papers, contact agreements, custody clarifications, written in language designed to protect everyone's interests. Nicole signs everything without reading thoroughly, trusting that Heather's advocates prioritize her well-being above all else. Could you forgive someone who caused your deepest wound? As Nicole prepares to leave before Heather's performance, Heather stops her with one final question that will determine how their story becomes public. Do you want to know what I'm singing tonight? I'm singing Nameless, Heather says with quiet determination, but I changed the ending. Nicole's heart stops completely. The song that began as a question about identity and belonging, performed on national television, will now provide an answer. What's the new ending? You'll have to watch to find out. Nicole finds herself in the theater's upper balcony, surrounded by Heather's supporters but anonymous in the massive crowd. On stage, Heather stands in a simple blue dress that makes her look impossibly small under the blazing spotlights. The opening notes of Nameless fill the auditorium, and Nicole recognizes the melody she heard that first shocking night on television. But as Heather sings, the words evolve far beyond the version Nicole remembers. Nameless. That's what I thought I was. Nobody's daughter, without a cause. But I found my name in the songs I sing, in the love that surrounds me, in everything. The new verse builds to a powerful crescendo that raises every person in the audience to their feet. I am Heather. I am chosen. I am loved, and I am whole. Every hand that held me matters. Every voice that shaped my soul, not nameless. I am named by everyone who stayed, by everyone who loved me, by the choice that love has made. As the final notes fade into thunderous silence before erupting into applause, Nicole wipes away tears while understanding that Heather has claimed her own narrative, not defined by abandonment, but by the overwhelming love that followed. 6 months later, Nicole receives a package with no return address. Inside, Heather's debut album titled Named by Love, with a handwritten note tucked into the liner. Thank you for making sure I found my real family, Heather. The final track is titled The Woman Who Cried Backstage, an instrumental piece that sounds exactly like the lullaby Nicole hummed during her pregnancy, now arranged for full orchestra with haunting beauty. Nicole plays it on repeat for hours, finally understanding that some stories don't end with reunion or reconciliation. Some stories end with the knowledge that love sometimes means letting go completely, and that the most profound act of motherhood might be ensuring your child never needs you to feel complete. 2 years later, when Heather wins her first Grammy at age 12, Nicole watches from her apartment, proud and distant and completely at peace. During her acceptance speech, Heather thanks her family, Daddy Marcus, Mama Eleanor's memory, her music teachers, her devoted fans. She doesn't mention Nicole or Darius by name, but her final words carry unmistakable weight. And to everyone who helped me find my voice, even when you couldn't stay to hear me sing, thank you for loving me enough to let me go. Nicole turns off the television and sits in perfect silence, understanding finally that the greatest gift she ever gave her daughter wasn't life. It was the family who taught her how to live it beautifully. Not everyone can fix their mistakes, but everyone can choose to stop making them worse. Sometimes, love means stepping back, far enough to let someone else's light shine brighter than your shadow.